Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so we have with us from New Haven, Connecticut, we have Ernestine Jackson, and she is the great-granddaughter of James Dawson.
Wow.
And we're gonna give her an opportunity to talk some about her family. Tell us, how she's connected to James Dawson and some of her siblings.
Well, James Dawson was my grandfather. He raised my father, whose name was Gussie Dawson.
What's his right name now?
Gussie Dawson.
He was James too.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
so James Jr.
James Gussie Dawson was his name.
Okay.
He was born in 1905.
Right, yeah. Well, my son has all the history.
Come on,
This is my historian, right?
All right, so we'll work it down from him. And so his son was James Dawson. So he was born in 1835, and then his son was born in 1869. And then he had a son with his mother was Lucille Knowles, which is her father. So his son James had another son named James, who was born in 1905, and my mom was born in 1927. So her 90th birthday is coming up in November.
Wow. Yes. Congratulations.
And I was born in 61, and so my father's name is Jackson, so I have the name Jackson, but with my mother, I'm a Dawson.
He's one of 5 sons. I had 5 sons.
Yes.
All right, so now you wanna talk something?
Well, I mean, other than just that, and so Mom, when did you move from, you were born where?
I was born in Charleston, South Carolina, but my father married a Gilbert. My mother's maiden name was Gilbert. And then moved to Charleston because that's where my father was working at the time. So that's where I was born. And then he came to Connecticut. Him and 3 other guys came to Connecticut. And that's where he lived. I was born in South Carolina, but I was practically raised in Connecticut, back and forth. I was back and forth between Dale and New Haven, Connecticut.
And that's where I was born.
And I met and married a guy from Birmingham, Alabama, which was his father. And I have 5 sons. I didn't have any girls. I have all boys. I have 5 sons.
And what was your question?
My question was, what year did they come to Connecticut?
What year did my father came to Connecticut? It had to be 1924, 25.
And when did you come to Connecticut?
I came to Connecticut. Well, I came to Connecticut from a child back and forth until my grandmother, who was a Gilbert, passed away. And then after high school, I went to Robert Smalls High School in Beaufort, and after that, I was permanently in Connecticut.
That would have been in the, what, 40s, right?
47.
It's whenever.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Now we also have Robert Dawson, who is here, and he is another historian.
Yes. And
along with Donald.
Right, he's from the William Dawson, because there were 11 children.
Yeah.
Again, James is the line, so there are 3 lines represented here. James Dawson, William Dawson, and then Laura Dawson.
Right.
So those are the three of the 11 children's descendants are represented here today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So do we have any entertainers in the group? Any singers? All right. So anybody else want to?
Or maybe you have a lot of information. Maybe you can.
I'm not a speaker.
You're a good speaker.
I have recorded. I'll be
No. The audience is singing in the shower.
When did you were born in South Carolina?
No, I was born in New York,
Well, you
White
were born in
Plains.
New York, okay.
White Plains, New York.
Well, what are some stories you have of some of these
I don't have
folks
stories.
down there?
Yeah, film them. You gotta
Take this. That's story. I get all nervous. You from the old folks behind the lines. Don't get in front of him. I'm not entertaining. Come on, man. I meant to say something. Okay, I'll begin with ED.
Open up for questions.
He was called Bubba. And I remember as a kid, we go to Topeka, South Carolina, and he was the tallest man that I've ever seen in my life.
Who's this now?
Bubba, Prophet.
Oh, William Dawson.
William
Okay.
Dawson. He was a farmer in Dale, South, in Topeka.
Okay.
And when I go down as a little kid, my mom and dad, he put us up on a mule. And he was just a big man, big guy. I'll never forget one day we were going to town being Buford. And Bubba was out in the field plowing. And the mule, for some reason, fell to the ground. And poor Bubba was down there, he was trying to get him to get back up. And the mule would not move. He was just a stubborn kind of guy, the mule was. But it's just something else I'll never remember my mom. My dad, as I recall, came up here in the late 30s. I was born in 41. Him and my Uncle James Dawson, they started a tailor business in White Plains, first one, in the late 40s. It was a dry cleaning place to have. And then they moved from there. My dad went into carpenter business, and around here he built a lot of homes in the area.
And White
Potomac,
Plains.
in White Plains as well. Matter of fact, he was one of the first black carpenters to join the union in the early 50s. He was a very industrious guy. He built about 6 homes in the area. And my Uncle James built his home when he came out of the war in the late 40s.
This is the one of the marriage pictures we saw.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's just, most of my aunts and uncles on my father's side, they all raised their families in this area, Mount Kisco. And that's what we remember for many years. Most of us went to the high school here in town, in Mount Kisco. So there's a lot of Dawson's memories coming up in this town, in Mount Kisco. So it's a big fact to come together today, as a family, and bring back some of these memories. There's a lot of them here. There's a lot here. It's ironic today that my cousin, who passed away 2 years ago, Dean myself, today's his birthday. August 19th. So it is ironic today. And as we're coming, I was repairing this family tree. In the mail today, there was a letter addressed to my father, Henry Dawson. This is irony, man. It's unbelievable. You know? He's still here, honestly. But there's a lot of proud memory of our family, what we've all done over the years. A lot of history in this town. So it all emanates back to Lobika in the Dale area, and his part of his family. A lot of it. They all came to this area to thrive during the late 40s, early 50s, what happened, getting them opportunity, and they got out of the area. So it's a great story, and it continues on now with our children and pride. It's like the ongoing thing about life in my area. So I'll turn it over to Horace.
I came to New York in '62, and I stayed with my brother, who was in Chappaqua, and he was living in the basement house. Who I now know is that yeah, and the relative. He's a relative of the family.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
my mother's uncle.
Okay.
Yeah.
And but I've been in Westchester since '62, and I met all of these guys. I know all of the family. Henry Dawson was my
Instructor.
Henry Dawson was, you know, he when I came to this area, he was a carpenter,
Yeah.
But I knew that he had the business in White Plains along with
Uncle
his
James.
brother.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I came back out of the service and I went to school for carpentry. And so I did, and so I was coming to the end of my schooling in carpentry, so I wanted to get into the workforce. And so Henry was building Robert, the house that Robert now lived in. And so I go over and I said, listen, I said, I need some work. I need some, you know, hands-on stuff to get myself going. And so he says, you know, he's a rough guy. He's a tough cookie. And so he said, well, how much do you want? I said, well, I'll work, and when you find out what I can do, then you pay me accordingly. He said, all right. And so I worked with him for, I don't remember how long, but Robert was working also on the same house. And so Robert said, asked his dad, he said, Dad, he says, why is the sheetrock sitting back 3/4 of an inch from the end of the board? And he said, oh, you know, he didn't want to explain anything to Robert. And so I said, well, how is this guy going to learn if you don't teach him the job? And so he said, well, you tell. And so I said, okay. I said, okay, and I explained to him that that's where the sheeting board on the outside of the house goes on, and it comes even with the bottom frame on the for the wall, for the outside wall. And so Robert, do you remember that?
No, no. Keep telling stories.
You blocked it out, right?
Yeah. That'll block a lot of things in my pocket.
And so, you know, even to him being over at the other house, I used to go over there and I used to do carpentry work in his basement. And at that time, you know, he didn't care. You know, he said he wanted to separate a room, and he wanted to do it the fastest way and the quick, you know, most inexpensive way that he could. I said, well, listen, I don't work like that. I said, either I do it right or I don't do it. He said, well, come on, let's get this thing in. And so, but you know, he was a rough man, and I can understand why a lot of people kind of shied away from him. But deep down inside, he wasn't as rough as he, you know, you just had to be able to match him person to person, and then he would, you know, he would calm down. And I found that out to be true with him. And a lot of people didn't understand him, but to me, I always work my way in. I don't let people discourage me from the way they respond. And so I enjoyed being with him. His brother, James, James was a little rough too. Yeah, James was a little rough too. And I'll come up here, James Jr.
I'm a little rough too. They say the fruit doesn't roll far. They say the fruit doesn't roll far from the tree.
Well, you got your brother's fruit.
Yeah, maybe. But, hey, listen, they had a rough time. The period of time that they were around, I don't know if I could have made it, but they were entrepreneurs. I know that.
Yeah.
I saw the stationery that Dad and Uncle Henry had, the Dawson brothers, and I would love to see pictures in White Plains. I mean, they had to be like the first black businessmen in White Plains. I know another, on the small side, they were trying to put together some of the, you know, black entrepreneurs in the early times in White Plains, but we never really got any pictures. We didn't have that. But listen, they're my heroes today, because what I used to think of them doing was bragging. But they were just sharing what they had accomplished in such a tough time period. We don't know today how, you know, we think it's tough now, but in their time, for Uncle Henry to be in the carpenters, you know, be in the
Union.
a part of the union, that's not easy. My dad was a Teamster, and you know, they went to the war, they did all these things, and So I look at them now as they're trailblazers, you know?